you've given me and all the world so much joy with your voice and your songs over the years.
Well, thank you.
I really feel that it was a labor of love going to Memphis and digging deep into the American rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
Tell us what those singers, what those players, what that music means to you.
Well, you know, it meant so much to me from a very early age, when I was about the age of 14. And I first heard Stax and all the music that came from there, from Memphis. The whole Memphis music scene, actually, that came over to England, you know, it really affected me. And I became a musician as a result of that. And, you know, did all the things that I did, became a songwriter and formed Free and Bad Company, and we did all these different things. And then I suddenly got the opportunity to go to Memphis and actually play in one of the original studios, the Royal Studios, and with these amazing guys, these fantastic musicians, the Reverend Charles and everybody. And I just jumped at the chance. And so we're promoting the album now, and all the proceeds, the profits, will go to the Stax Academy of Music, because we want to keep kids, we want to give something back. You know, Memphis gave so much to me and still keeps giving, actually. So it's definitely it's a joyful thing to do. I'm really enjoying it.
It's amazing stuff. I know when you walk in the studio, you could just feel the history.
Well, you absolutely could. Yeah, it's in the very dust motes in the air, you know. And there's just a feel there.
You just you can't recreate that with millions of dollars of architecture,
you know, that's true.
And technology.
It's very true. I mean, it's so iconic that it's still sitting there, as was, and you can still, you know, one can still walk in and make this kind of music. It's so refreshing to my soul, actually.
Yeah. It's amazing stuff, the music that came from there. Now, how did you hear this at an early age? Was it the BBC, or how did this enter your life?
It entered my life at the clubs in my hometown, actually. You know, there was clubs I went to up there, and they would play this music. And funnily enough, the first record I did buy was an instrumental. Although I was a big Otis Redding fan, I understood that his band were the Booker T and the MGs, the Barkays, and those, you know, Steve Cropper, Duck Dunn. And I bought, the first record I bought was Red Beans and Rice, was by those guys. And the thing about it was, you know, I had to be very selective, because we didn't have a lot of money. You know, when you're a 14-year-old kid up in my hometown, you didn't have a lot of money.
Pence.
So it was very like, okay, which record am I going to buy? And that was the first one I bought. And I rediscovered it recently, and it's just as great now as it was then.
Timeless.
So this music is timeless, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, obviously, being able to go in there to those Howard Halls and, you know, be around some of the players, some of the people that were actually making this music 50 years ago, what could you learn from them today? Because obviously the music is in your heart and soul. Anything you glean from being around them that they talked about the making?
Yeah, really a lot. I mean, I'm still learning as we go. We've played a couple of shows together. Obviously, we've made the album. And everything we do is a sort of step further. It's a step deeper into it. And when I listen to the album, I hear things all the time that I didn't hear before. So there's so many subtleties in the stew of this music that it's exciting. And for me, it's a great. I love singing on it, because there are so many subtleties and so much question and answering going on, and so much response to what I'm doing. It makes me, I have to be on the top of my game, because these guys just live there, you know.
Sure. Yeah. It's in their blood.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, technology has advanced so much. It's made recording a lot easier, faster. You can throw it up on the iTunes, but obviously, this music, like you say, is as timely and timeless as ever. What do you think it was about the music in the 70s? Obviously, it was from the heart and soul, but what was it about this music, 60s and 70s, that's so endearing? It almost stands up better than any other of the decades.
It does seem to do that. It does seem to have a timeless quality. And I think when I listened to this music, I drew something from it, and it's gone into all of the Rock and Roll Fantasy, All Right Now, Run with the Pack, Bad Company, all those songs. I mean, I'd like to think there's a touch of soul in there. And it's definitely an ongoing process for me to revisit these songs. They're old songs, but they feel very brand new when we play them together, because well, they just do. They're still very electric. Yeah.
You putting your stamp on it. It is a new song. The fact that it stood
Oh,
this
thank
test
you.
of time,
Yeah.
and really, will go on hopefully for centuries, but you've made it your own, and that's really special.
Well, thank you. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate that, man.
And we certainly revere your voice. It's as time goes on, so many of the singers, they lose some of their range and everything.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the first to tell you that we feel your voice is as strong or stronger than it's ever been. Now, obviously, that comes down to your lifestyle and your mind and what you don't put in it. But
Yeah.
what
thank
do you equate to being able to preserve?
Well,
your voice?
as the years go by, I start to realize just how blessed I am and just how lucky I am.
Yeah.
And I take care of myself, because I think you sing with your whole body, actually. It's not just the voice.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to keep everything together in order to kind of deliver. I mean, there's a lot of, with this music anyway, it's very passionate. There's a lot of really deep emotion to it. And I don't know what it is. It grabbed me, and it's held me in the palm of its hand since day one. And I love it. I don't know what to say. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
with so many of your peers, like I say, that they've lost some of that range. Did you know early on how to,
that's
keep track? Because
I-
obviously the hard drugs, the alcohol, the
Yeah.
smoking,
Yeah.
is an enemy to the voice.
Well, it is. It actually is. And I went through, I mean, as a young kid, I went through that whole stage where temptation was there in front of me. And I did kind of, one overindulges when you're younger. And you pay the price, in later years. But I always realized how important it was to me to take care of myself and my voice if I was going to have a voice when I was older. And I'm glad that I did ultimately, because I'd like to think I'm still learning. It's all still very fresh for me. It's still new. When I get up on the stage with these guys like we just did now, it's like the first time, And I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it exciting for me, because I think it's not going to be exciting for the listener if it's not exciting for the artist. So I want to be inspired by it, and I am. And
Well, it's a real treat. We always talk about the fact that so much of your generation in England, in Europe, was so inspired by this American blues and rhythm and blues. The Eric Claptons, the Jeff Becks, it goes on and on, the Jimmy Pages. Everybody was so inspired by that. And then in turn, so many of us Americans were inspired by you, the British bands, the Frees and the Zeppelins and the Creams and everything.
Well, it's true.
It's been going back and forth over the pond for so many years, this Mutual Admiration Society. What do you think it was about that in the 60s that, besides the rhythm and blues, of course, the Jimi Hendrix, and so much of these American musicians just laid the blueprint, for the English?
Well, they certainly did lay the blueprint. And what happened, I think, is that this music is at the heart of some very influential bands. I mean, this influenced those influential bands, you know what I mean, in the first place. So this is kind of a step deeper. And to me, it's eternal music. It's forever music, and will always be fresh.
Yeah. Well, I know it's very special to be able to give back to the next generation, and hope that there is more of these musicians coming up, and the Tennessees and Mississippis and Alabamas and Georgias, and
there's
such
something in the water down there.
Yeah, such a rich roots. It's a shame to think that that's only in the history books. What does it mean to you to give back and see a new generation grow?
Well, there are a number of reasons for doing this. Really, I mean, I'm very happy to keep this music alive and to let people understand that it still has a tremendous amount of power and strength, really, to influence people. I mean, also, I don't expect other people to come along and say, we got to do that. The young kids will do their own music.
Yeah.
But as long as they're making music and creating, music is such an involvement. To me, it's like whenever I play music, I go into another dimension. Do you know what I mean? I step out of the ordinary. And so I can never be without music. It's like, it's in my life blood. Do you know what I mean? And I'd like other people to find that, because it really is something special to have in your life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, what's your best memories of, coming over here with Bad Company and being able to not only feel the love coming back from the Americans, but be able to travel to a lot of these cities and
Yeah.
states that you only heard about? What was your greatest memories of that?
So many. I mean, yeah, it was incredible for me, for all of us. When we first came to the States, I think we just made an album. We didn't think anything other than we want to make the best album we can, which is really the motivation behind every album I've done. I just want to make the best I can do at any given moment, and that's what we did. And we were very fortunate that it started out at number 99 in the charts when we first hit the States, and it was number 1 when we finished the tour. So it was, it was a magic carpet ride. And what I really like about America is I can tour here, and I still tour here. And there's, people who are interested in what I'm doing, and that's nice.
I appreciate your time. Can't wait for the show. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you. Me too.